So these are the 5 major security services that are available. Next we are going to talk about the security mechanisms. The ITU, which is your International Telecommunication Union, Telecommunication Standardization Sector, this also recommends some kind of security mechanisms to provide the security services that are defined in the previous section. Now, these security mechanisms are the features that are designed to detect, prevent or recover from security attacks. You can call these mechanisms as some kind of techniques which are used to detect the security attack, or some techniques are used to prevent the security attacks, or even some kind of techniques are used to recover from these kinds of security attacks. Now, if you take the security mechanism, there is no single mechanism which will support all the services that are required, because we have this many number of security services required. Now, all these services cannot be provided by a single mechanism. So, what we are going to do, we will have set of security mechanisms set of security mechanisms. Each mechanism may provide any one service, or combination of mechanisms will provide some security services. So all these security mechanisms will use some kind of cryptographic techniques. This is the point that we have to note here. All these security mechanisms make use of some kind of cryptographic techniques. So we will be discussing in the second, third, fourth and fifth module, we will be talking about lots of cryptographic techniques, and all these techniques will be used to implement any of the security mechanism. Now, when you take the security mechanisms, these are the different security mechanisms available. Some of the specific security mechanisms are encipherment, digital signature, access controls, data integrity, authentication exchange, traffic padding, routing control, notarization. These are the different security mechanisms that are very specific. So they are used for specific purposes. Then apart from that, we have some pervasive security mechanisms also, which are trusted functionality, security labels, event detection, security audit trails, security recovery. These are other security mechanisms that are available. Right. So out of these security mechanisms, we are going to discuss what are the specific security mechanisms. Let us see what is encipherment. So encipherment is nothing but hiding or covering the data to provide confidentiality. Or it is used to complement some other mechanisms that are available. And the two popular techniques that are used for encipherment are cryptography and steganography. So, if you want to provide data confidentiality service, you need the encipherment security mechanism. What do you mean by encipherment? The data will be hidden somewhere, or the data will be covered, right? Or it will be written in a different way, so that we can provide data confidentiality. And mainly this encipherment is used for other mechanisms, right? So it is not used as a standalone mechanism. Mostly it will be used in other security mechanisms. And these are the two popular techniques which are used for encipherment, cryptography and steganography. Now, the second security mechanism is what you call as routing control. The routing control is nothing but selecting and continuously changing different available routes between the sender and receiver. Why we are using it? It is used for preventing from eavesdropping in one particular route. Say for example, the sender and receiver may be involved in a particular communication, and there may be snooping or traffic analysis that may happen, right? So these are the two attacks that may happen in a communication: snooping and traffic analysis. So what happens if the sender and receiver are going to use the same route? It will be easily tapped by the attacker. So in the routing control, whenever there is a communication between a sender and receiver, the routes will be continuously changed. The routes will be continuously changed. Say for example, for sending message 1, the sender and receiver may be using route A. When the message 2 is to be sent, they will be using route 2. Then for message 3, they will be using routes 3. Like that, they can continuously change the routing for the communication so that no data will be snooped or there cannot be any traffic analysis, and it can protect from the eavesdroppers. Because eavesdroppers will be mainly using one particular route for analyzing the data or for capturing the data. So if you want to prevent, we can use a mechanism called routing control. Now another security mechanism is what you call as data integrity, and this data integrity mechanism, it is generally added or to the data a short check value that has been created by a specific process from the data itself. So the receiver will be receiving the data as well as the check value, and he creates a new check value from the received data, and this check values will be compared, and if they are same, we can assure that integrity is maintained. So that is what happens in the case of data integrity. So what is data integrity mechanism? The data integrity mechanism, imagine A wants to send a message to B. A wants to send a message to B. So by the time A will be sending the data, along with the data, A will be sending a check value also, a checksum value. Sometimes it is also called as checksum value or check value. This value will also be created by A, and he will be sending both data and the check value, right? And now the receiver will be receiving the data and the check value, correct? Now what the receiver will do, whatever data is received, using this data, the receiver will be creating a new check value. Please make a note of it. This is NEW. New check value will be created by the receiver. Now the receiver will be comparing the new check value and the received check value. If they are same, we can assure that integrity is preserved. Otherwise, integrity is compromised. That is what data integrity mechanism is. Then another mechanism is what you call as traffic padding. So traffic padding is nothing but inserting some bogus value into the data traffic just to confuse the attacker, right? So what we are going to do, when the sender is sending the data to a receiver, A sends a message to B. By the time A will be adding some unnecessary data also, something like 0000 or 111 kind of data will also be added, or you can call it as padding also. So this kind of data padding will happen, some bogus value, right? The bogus value is not a original value. It is going to be added only to confuse the attacker. So when the attacker is snooping the data, he will be receiving all these zeros and ones. Then he will get confused like what actually these zeros and ones mean. So just to confuse the attacker, in the case of traffic padding, some bogus value will be padded along with the original data. So this is actually used to protect from the traffic analysis also. Now another attack is what you call as authentication exchange. So authentication exchange, the two entities exchange some messages to prove their identity. That is what authentication exchange is. So some message will be shared between them just to prove the identity to each other. For example, one entity can prove that she knows a secret that only she is supposed to know. Something like a secret key or some secret value which the sender and receiver alone know will be shared between them, which you call as authentication exchange. Then another security mechanism is what you call as access control. So this access control uses some kind of methods to prove that a user has access right to the data or resources owned by a system. So this is something like your username, password, or some PIN number. So these are the secret values known only to the authorized people. So the access control uses methods to prove that a user has access right? How it is proving? If the user enters correct password and enters the correct PIN number, then we can understand there is a access to this particular user and the access will be provided to them. Now another security mechanism is what you call as digital signature. The digital signature here, the sender will be electronically signing the data and the receiver can verify the signature. So the digital signature is a means, you can say it is a communication mean by which the sender will be signing the data electronically. That is very important. So you can prepare a document, you can sign the document electronically and the receiver will be verifying the signature, right? Now here the sender will be using a process which involves showing that she owns a private key related to the public key that she has announced publicly, and the receiver will be using the sender's public key to prove that the message is indeed sent by the sender who claims to have the sent the message, right? The digital signature is one of the public key encryption system. So what happens here, the sender will be generating two keys. One is the private key, the other one is public key. The public key will be shared with the receiver. So the sender will be creating the document and he will be signing the document using the private key, correct? Then after signing the document will be shared with the receiver, and now the receiver will be receiving the document. He will verify the signature. He will verify the signature with the public key which is already shared with him. That is what you call as digital signature. So it is something like your RSA algorithm. We will be discussing in the 5th module how digital signature is implemented using the RSA algorithm. Then another mechanism is what you call as notarization. So notarization is nothing but selecting a third party to control communication between two entities, right? So this is actually, we have seen a repudiation problem. The sender will be denying that he has sent the message, and the same way the receiver will also be receiving the, denying the receiver delivery of the message. So what happens now in this problem, in the notarization, a third party will be selected and this third party will be controlling the communication between both the entities, the sender and the receiver. So the third party becomes a trusted party, and the trusted party will store the sender's request so that it cannot be denied later. So either the sender or the receiver will be initiating the third party, and the third party will be having the proof of sending the data or proof of delivering the data. Proof of origin and proof of delivery will be available with the third party, which is the trusted party here. Trusted party. For example, to prevent the repudiation, the receiver can involve a trusted party to store the sender's request in order to prevent the sender from later denying that she has made such a request. So, this kind of notarization is another security mechanism which is mainly used for non-repudiation service. So, these are the different security mechanisms that are available in the International Telecommunication Union standard, right? Now let us see how the security services and the security mechanisms are related. If you see, for the data confidentiality is one of the security services. For this security service, I can have encipherment and routing control as the mechanism. And for the data integrity, again you can have encipherment and digital signature. And for the authentication service, we can have encipherment, digital signature, authentication exchange. And for access control, of course, we have access control mechanism itself. Then for the non-repudiation, digital signature, data integrity, notarization, all these things can be used, right? So this is what you have to understand. These are the different services and these are the different mechanisms. So if you want to provide the data confidentiality, the mechanism that can be used will be encipherment and the routing control. The same way, if the organization wants the data integrity as one of the security services, they can make use of encipherment, digital signature, or combination of these two. The same way, if you want to provide the authentication service, then the encipherment mechanism, digital signature, or authentication exchange, or combination of these can also be used. The same way, for access control and non-repudiation, we can make use of access control mechanism, digital signature, data integrity, and notarization. So any of these techniques or combination of these techniques can be used for the non-repudiation. So this is the basic relationship between the service and the mechanism. So with that, we are concluding what are the security attacks, and for protecting against these attacks, we need security services, and for implementing the security services, we have different security mechanisms also. So for any network security, this is how it will be designed or modeled. The sender and the receiver. The message will be converted into a secret message. Most probably it will be using some encipherment technique. And this will use some security related transformation. And some secret information will also be given for this transformation process, which will be generally a private key, public key mechanism. So any key value will be used, and the message and the key will be given for the transformation, which will create the secure message. And this secure message will be sent through the channel, information channel. This channel may not be a secured channel. So it is sent, and these will be attacked by the opponents. Attackers will be eavesdropping, and the secure message will be delivered here. And at the same time, if you want to use any trusted third party, that can also be taken care by a third party here for the non-repudiation process. Then the secret message will be received on the recipient's end. Again, the secret message and the secret key information will be provided to the transformation process which will be generating the original message that is sent by the sender. So this is the model of for any kind of network security. So how we are going to protect from the attackers? So what kind of encipherment and decipherment that you are going to use for the safe transferring of data, and what kind of trusted third party is used for protecting against the repudiation problem. So that is all will be implemented in the network security. So for this network security model, it requires to design a suitable algorithm for the security transformation. So you need an algorithm here for the security transformation, and generate a secret information used by the algorithm. So you need a key value to be generated. So that is also required, and we need to develop methods to distribute and share the secret information. This is very important. How the secret information is going to be shared between the sender and receiver, whether you are going to use the insecure channel or whether you are going to use a secure channel, that kind of mechanism should also be available. And then specify a protocol enabling the principles, right? What are the three principles? Data integrity, confidentiality, and availability. So you need to have some kind of protocol that enables the principal to use the transformation and the secret information for a security service. So this is the kind of model that you need for the network security. And for network access security, any attacker will be attacking your information system. It may be data, it may be process, or sometimes it may be the resources, or sometimes it may be the software and the tools that you are going to use, right? So from this information system, the attacker will try to access the data. So you need a gatekeeper here, which is generally done by the firewall for your network security, and the access control. You need to provide proper access control, proper filtering, and the firewall mechanism to protect your information system from the attacker, right? So for this model, you need an appropriate gatekeeper function, which you call as the firewall here, to identify who is trying to access your data. And you need to implement security controls to ensure only authorized users are accessing the information or the resource. So this access control and firewall is used for protecting your information system from the attacker. And trusted computer system may be useful to implement this particular model for network access security, right? So that's it about the security mechanisms that we are going to have for information security. So in the next session, we will be talking about the two important techniques which you call as cryptography and steganography, and what is the basic difference between them and how it can be implemented. Let us discuss it in the next session. Thank you.